What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of the new studio album by Good Charlotte, a pop-punk alternative rock band that have been on hiatus for quite a while now. Their last album, Cardiology, came out in 2010. Finally, 6 years later, we're seeing a follow-up with Youth Authority. The Madden brothers were not completely silent during this time. Benji and Joel started their own project, and I actually enjoyed some of the tracks off of that album. It wasn't really commercially successful in the United States. It was pretty big in Australia, where actually Good Charlotte and the Madden brothers are pretty much huge at this point. They've been touring with the likes of like 5 Seconds of Summer, and obviously working with the same producer that Five Sauce did, and that's John Feldman. You might remember that he recently produced California by Blink-182. The Madden brothers took on kind of a summery sound and just kind of like a 60s, 70s rock influenced, and I really like some of the tracks like California Rain and especially Dear Jane. And with this new project, I was hoping some of those influences would kind of bleed over and trickle back into Good Charlotte. I still stand by liking their last effort, Cardiology. It was a much more mature record, and it saw some sonic twists that we hadn't seen from Good Charlotte before. Obviously, some of these songs called back to classic times. They were lyrically seemingly inspired by some older works, and that was a good fit on Good Charlotte. Now, some of their earlier works I can't really defend all that much because it's one of those things where I look at it and I'm like, you know, I feel like I've grown out of this. I definitely don't hate all of their earlier work, but it is pretty hard to defend, especially from a lyrical point of view. It's just something that I've moved past. I've moved past those emo times in my life, and obviously I don't really relate to a lot of those messages anymore. And unlike a lot of bands where maybe I don't necessarily connect on a lyrical level anymore, like maybe Linkin Park, even Green Day, Sum 41 to an extent, Good Charlotte always seemed to be a little bit immature, and I guess you could kind of peel back the lyrics and the layers a little bit easier. Their chords and their structures of their songs are just very, very simple, and it wears thin once again on their new record, Youth Authority. Let's get the complaints over with first, shall we? Some of these songs are just so frustrating. I look at the lyrics on them and I'm just like, is it 2000 or is it 2016 and you are 40-year-old men teaming up with other writers to pen this? And that's how I felt about a couple of moments on the Blink-182 release, but overall, that was still a very enjoyable release for me. Not perfect by any means, but still a good summer fun record. With Youth Authority, I'm seeing about half of this album as just being total throwaway, and after track 6, there's not a single song that I like on it. Starting with track 7, Stray Dogs, my eyes just roll straight backwards, and I'm thinking, are you serious? We're comparing love and just like your stray heart over here, and it's very, very much cringeworthy. I can't really listen to this song and just feel good about it in really any way. The instrumentals are flat and very, very overproduced, very glossy. Feldman puts that weird touch on it for a pop-punk band. They just don't need to be coming through quite this produced. And some of these tracks just have a false sense of epicness, like the Outfield, for example, right near the end of this record, and of course the track War as well, which drags on entirely too long. And the closer on this record is just, it's so much nonsense packed in, and it just tries to build up so much. It's like there's trying to be that emotion here, and that layer is just blocking it from coming through whatsoever because the instrumentals are flat, the lyrical content, it's just not quite there, and the vocals really are trying. I feel like the Madden brothers sound pretty solid on the majority of this record, but whenever they're not giving it their all in terms of like all the other departments, it doesn't really stir together to make anything good. Cars Full of People is just completely boring, and the Outfield, like I already talked about, just trying way too hard to be like big or inspirational or something. There's like strings on some of these tracks, and it doesn't fit their aura. I didn't care for Kellen Quinn's feature on this record. Kellen Quinn, if you're not familiar, is the lead singer of Sleeping with Sirens, and I'm not really into that band much at all. In fact, I think most of their stuff is pretty... He comes through with a drab performance here, which just pales in comparison to the Madden brothers on this track. I actually thought their side of things was pretty solid, and in fact, the instrumental here is very catchy, and I like what they're saying. It's actually kind of upbeat. They're saying, you know, this is our comeback record. This is where we get things done. And in the first half, I'd actually believe that because they're kind of just slamming doors in people's face, actually standing up, making music that sounds like Good Charlotte with maybe a new edge to it. Then Kellen Quinn comes in, and it just kind of shuts the door on that. that, and it just kind of kills the momentum of the track for me. One thing I will defend on the second half of this record is the Stick to Your Guns interlude. It's a track that feels like it's building up to something, and I understand that the Outfield is going for that big feel, so I understand you're filling up a stadium, you're packing it out. Maybe if you have a song that actually connects lyrically, it could work, and it transitions perfectly out of Stick to Your Guns. That track kind of builds up. You actually hear some lyrical content on this track. It's not just all an instrumental, but it shows us a different side of Good Charlotte that maybe I'd like to see them explore more in the future. Fortunately, there's some stuff here that doesn't totally seal Youth Authority's fate. In fact, there's some enjoyable songs on the first half that remind me of why I liked Good Charlotte in the first place. I'm going to start by talking about the lead single, Makeshift Love, that came out last fall. This song is so damn catchy, I can't get it out of my head. I haven't stopped listening to it since it came out last November, and actually I've had it on repeat pretty much since then. That's not even a joke. It's been in my Spotify playlist, on my iPod, and I keep coming back to it time and time again. It's one of those songs that you just don't skip over whenever it comes up on shuffle. I love that they tell a story with this song, talking about fighting, the ins and outs of this relationship, kind of trying to hide away, make things better sometimes, improving upon this love because you know that you laid the foundation there. At some point, you want it to keep going. And if Good Charlotte could do more stuff like this, sounding so great with these thundering, powering riffs, just a massive song. Don Gilmore teaming up with them once again, leaving off right where they left off with him back in the day. He produced a couple of their early albums, worked on, I believe, their first album it was, and of course The Young and the Hopeless, their big breakthrough in 2002. Gilmore can write a song with these guys, and it sounds pretty great. We see that again with Reason to Stay, featuring the lead singer of Biffy Clyro, Simon Neil. He sounds fantastic, actually. A guest opening this track. I love his vocal style, and I actually haven't looked that much into Biffy Clyro, but this makes me want to. It's tracks like Reason to Stay, Makeshift Loved, and even 40 Ounce Dream that see them taking on a little bit more of a creative aspect and bringing something new to their style. 40 Ounce Dream didn't click with me right at first, and in fact, I mentioned not liking it, but that was only based off of one play, and once I gave it more chances with this album, I actually started to come around on it. I understand that some might find 40 Ounce Dream a little bit too gimmicky. Like I said, I didn't really care for this song right off the bat. After the first couple of listens, it started to seep in a little bit more, and I started to like this song, and they're talking here about how things have changed so much in the music industry from the time of their inception until now, their comeback, and just looking around, no guitars on the radio, they're remembering things from the old days, and like I said, I understand that it might seem a little bit too nostalgic, like they're trying to cash in on that, but at the same time, I kind of like it. They start off with an acoustic guitar here, and then, of course, with the chorus of the track, they have electric guitar riffs kind of backing and emphasizing the vocal content here, and that's what I like about this song. Hell, I'm even a sucker for the opening track, Life Changes. Not a bad song at all. Benji Madden penned the lyrics to this one entirely by himself, and I like that. I like that they didn't have to use outside co-writers on every single song, and I understand that producers writing with a band is one thing, but I see these outside co-writers on some of these tracks that I don't even recognize, like Dave Katz or Luke Walker on some of these tracks, and I'm thinking, you know, it would have been a little bit better for their comeback. It would have felt a little bit more genuine if they had kind of toned it down on maybe the guest or just the outside writers and producers. But back to Life Changes, I actually do like that track. It's a nice little explosion to kind of get things started. They got the ball rolling in the right direction with this record. It just kind of dropped off right in the midsection here. Right after track 6, like I already mentioned, it just kind of falls apart and they fall into such bland territory. I don't think I'm going to be coming back to this record that much. There's going to be a few songs that I think a lot of people are going to pick off their playlist. Obviously, I've been listening to Makeshift Love for quite a while, even 40 Ounce Dream on repeat, and I'll probably take a few more songs and kind of leave it at that. For me personally, I don't think there's a high replay factor here, but I do give a few songs a recommendation. If you'd like to check it out for yourself, I'll include a link in the description down below. I'm giving Youth Authority a 2.5. A lot of old bands from the early 2000s seem to be making their comeback this year, guys. Simple Plan, Good Charlotte, Sum 41, Blink 182, and obviously it's in a bit of a very mixed bag in my opinion so far. I liked Blink, hated Simple Plan, and I'm very torn on Good Charlotte. Kind of a weak comeback I feel like as well, but I'm holding out hope for Sum 41. I was gonna ask you guys, would you like it if I reviewed all of Sum 41's albums leading up to their album release of 13 Voices in October? Let me know in the comment section down below, leave a like on this video, and let me know your thoughts on Good Charlotte's Youth Authority, and of course, if there's other albums you'd like to see me tackle, sound off in the comments section. Friends don't let friends go unsubscribed, so click that little subscribe button down there. Other than that, I'll see you guys very soon right here on ARTV.